Hanli's brows furrowed slightly upon seeing this. The detonation of 3 immortal treasures at once had worn down the gray cloud significantly, but it still wasn't entirely wiped out. Qiuling was furious as she observed the unfolding situation from afar, but she was unable to free herself from her battle against Jin Tong, so she could only watch as Hanli continued to chip away at her spirit domain. Right at this moment, Hanli swept a sleeve through the air to summon that black inkstone immortal treasure that he had obtained from Tao Yu. He tossed the black inkstone forward while making a hand seal, and a burst of piercing black light, interspersed with formidable law power fluctuations, instantly surged out of the inkstone. The law powers imbued within this inkstone were far superior to that of the 3 previous immortal treasures, and even though Hanli hadn't been able to completely refine the treasure, he still had sufficient control over it to trigger its self-detonation. An alarmed look appeared on Qiuling's face as she sensed the formidable aura emanating from the black inkstone, and she immediately opened her mouth to release a burst of silver liquid, which fused into the black flames around her in a flash. The surrounding black flames instantly swelled to exert more pressure on Jin Tong, and at the same time, Qiuling swept a sleeve through the air to summon a green gourd amid a flash of green light. An indescribably enormous aura instantly erupted forth as soon as the gourd emerged, and Hanli was quite stunned upon sensing this aura, but continued with what he was doing without pause. The black light radiating from the inkstone became brighter and brighter, and it was beginning to flash erratically. Right at this moment, he opened his mouth to expel a mouthful of blood, which vanished into the black inkstone in a flash, and the inkstone hurtled directly toward the gray cloud while glowing like a radiant black sun. Qiuling gave a cold harumph upon seeing this, and she pointed a finger at the green gourd, which released a burst of green light that swept toward the black inkstone at an incredible speed. Unfortunately, she was too late. In the instant that the burst of green light reached the black inkstone, the latter exploded violently into an eruption of black light and countless black runes. A terrifying aura surged through the area before fading away an instant later, and the gray cloud was worn down even further, trembling violently as a series of cracks appeared within it. However, this spirit domain was truly extremely resilient, and it was still just barely able to hold itself together. An urgent look appeared on Hanli's face upon seeing this, and he opened his mouth to expel another mouthful of blood, this time into his azure bamboo cloud swarm sword. The sword instantly began to glow radiantly as it swept viciously toward the gray cloud, while Qiuling responded by making a hand seal, and the burst of green light released by the green gourd circled around to wrap itself around the azure bamboo cloud swarm sword. Look out! That gourd of hers is a profound heavenly treasure that can capture immortal treasures by force. Jin Tong warned through voice transmission. Hanli's expression changed slightly upon hearing this, but it was too late for him to do anything. As soon as the burst of green light wrapped itself around the azure bamboo cloudswarm sword, the latter was instantly stopped cold in its tracks, and Hanli's spiritual connection with it was also severed. A cold sneer appeared on Qiuling's face as she made another hand seal, and the green light wrapped around the azure bamboo cloudswarm sword instantly brightened even further, while the giant sword shrank down rapidly before flying toward her. Hanli fought the instinctive urge to recover his flying sword as he swept a sleeve through the air, and yet another giant azure sword emerged before him amid a flash of azure light. Thick arcs of golden lightning erupted out of its blade, and the aura that it was giving off was no less formidable than that of the previous sword. A stunned look appeared on Qiuling's face upon seeing this. There was a cooldown period that had to pass before she could use the green gourd to unleash another burst of green light, so there was nothing that she could do. Right at this moment, Hanli swept his other sleeve through the air to summon his heavy water true axis, which instantly began revolving rapidly, sending bursts of tremendous force erupting in all directions and causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Immediately thereafter, he cast a pair of incantation seals into the two treasures, and the light radiating from them brightened significantly as they swooped toward the gray cloud up ahead in unison. At the same time, Taoist Xie shot out of Han Li's body in its giant crab from amid a flash of golden lightning. Bright golden lightning was surging over its entire body, and it swept its pair of massive pincers through the air to strike the gray cloud like a pair of peerlessly sharp giant blades. The gray cloud was already on its last legs, and an earth-shattering boom rang out as a huge hole was finally blasted through it. After unleashing that attack, the golden light on Taoist Xie's body rapidly dimmed, indicating that it had already used up all of its immortal origin stones. It flew back into Han Li's body as a streak of golden light, while Han Li channeled his reversal true axis ability, sweeping up his giant azure sword and heavy water true axis before flying through the hole in the gray cloud. He was flying extremely fast, and he just so happened to be traveling downward, so he was unable to arrest his momentum and crashed straight into the ground, creating a massive crater beneath himself. He immediately rose to his feet and took a quick glance at his surroundings before preparing to flee. Even though he had escaped from the spirit domain, his immortal spiritual power were already completely depleted, so he was unfit for further battle. Right at this moment, his mantra treasured axis suddenly emerged on its own, and as soon as it appeared, it began to revolve rapidly while releasing dazzling golden light, as was the case with the time law thread on the axis. The golden gate up ahead also began to glow radiantly, and both the axis and the gate also began buzzing audibly, as if they were resonating with one another. All of a sudden, the time law thread on the mantra-treasured axis shot through the air before vanishing into the golden gate in a flash. A golden ring design instantly appeared on the golden gate, and a burst of dazzling golden light flew out from within before encompassing Han Li's entire body. Han Li immediately felt a burst of immense yet gentle force descend upon him, rendering him largely immobilized. He was naturally quite startled by this, and he raised his head with great difficulty to cast his gaze toward the gate of the Golden Palace, upon which he was surprised to discover that Lu Yuqing was standing beside the gate. She was being pursued by that young primordial fey beast earlier, but she had somehow returned to this place. There was a stunned look on her face as well, and she was also looking back at Han Li with her mouth slightly agape. Right at this moment, a burst of rumbling rang out from the gray spirit domain up above, and a streak of golden light flew out from within before transforming into Jin Tong. At this moment, its body was riddled with gashes, and there was a weary look in its golden eyes. Not far away, Qiuling also appeared amid a flash of silver light. She had already taken in the situation that was unfolding down below, and a furious look appeared on her face as she swept a sleeve through the air, upon which the gray throne reappeared, before immediately fusing into the gray spirit domain above her. The gray spirit domain instantly began to shrink rapidly, as if it were collapsing in on itself, shrinking to only several hundred feet in size in the blink of an eye, and its color had also become extremely dark. A burst of tremendous power erupted out of the spirit domain, causing the nearby air to tremble and quiver, while gusts of ferocious wind were sent sweeping in all directions. At the same time, an enormous gray dragon head projection appeared within the spirit domain. It had an extremely menacing appearance and was riddled with sharp spikes, but its eyes were completely indifferent and emotionless. Right as Han Li's gaze fell upon the gray dragon head, it was also looking directly at him, and an indescribable sense of foreboding instantly welled up in his heart. Right at this moment, the gray dragon head opened its mouth, and 3 bursts of light of different colors appeared within its maw, namely gray, black, and white. Each burst of light contained tremendous law powers that were completely different from one another, yet were able to coexist in perfect harmony. The gray dragon head let loose an earth-shattering roar, following which a thick pillar of 3-colored light erupted forth, hurtling directly toward Han Li at an incredible speed. At this moment, Han Li was completely immobilized, so he could only look on helplessly as the pillar of 3-colored light approached him at lightning speed. In this dire situation, a streak of golden light suddenly flashed through the air before him, and a little girl appeared in front of him without any warning. The little girl was none other than Jin Tong, and it appeared that it had managed to attain a human form during the time that it had been separated from Han Li. The little girl appeared to be around 8 or 9 years of age, and her head of golden hair and porcelain-like features gave her a very adorable appearance. At this moment, she was wearing a suit of intricate golden armor, and there was a golden gleam in her bright black pupils. But 2 lines of golden blood were trickling down from the corners of her lips, and her aura had become significantly weaker than before. The little girl wore a grim expression as she raised her delicate arms, which instantly took on a golden coloration, as if they had been forged out of gold. She then gritted her teeth as she swept her little hands through the air, and her arms instantly exploded, transforming into 2 thick streaks of translucent light that were each over 10,000 feet in length. There were countless golden runes flashing over the 2 streaks of translucent light, and they fused as one in a flash to form a thin line. A burst of overwhelmingly formidable law power fluctuations surged out of the thin thread, causing the nearby space to quake violently as it swept toward the pillar of 3-colored light. Jintong! Han Li called out as a series of mixed emotions surfaced in his eyes. Right at this moment, a burst of dull rumbling suddenly rang out from the gate of the Golden Palace, and it opened up ever so slightly as a peculiar aura emerged from within. The golden light around Han Li's body instantly brightened before dragging him through the gate of the palace in a flash.